Sustainable Development Goals. What are those? We're just going to have a candid discussion, eh? Because that's the reason why we're here for 5 days. But you heard about them, yeah? SDGs? You've heard about them? What are they? And do we need them? Amisa?
Yes, we do.
Why do we need them?
I think one of the sustainable development goals is to bring up quality education, which I think it's a mandatory thing. Because you find that in some institutions, the kind of education that they give does not really show like the value of the, like let's say the money that people are paying for it. Yeah.
So quality education is key.
Yeah.
All right. What does education do to a society? Once the society is educated?
I think I would say education brings light.
Okay, enlightenment, eh?
Yeah.
Any other reason why we think they're important? Yes, Lincoln. Gender equality.
Yeah.
Why do we need gender equality?
I think let me be specific to the African people. And there is a tendency that people tend to think ladies should stay at home and men go there to look for something, maybe look for catering, do some other things. But then I was very certain that that mentality should be done away with. And then even in the Kenyan Constitution, we find that there is a requirement that within any, in the parliament, in the senate, and everywhere, there is a requirement that a certain percentage of the members should be one gender, the remaining should at least part. And that one brings some light to the society. Yeah.
So are we agreeing educating a woman is educating a society? I don't hear yeses.
Yes.
Yes. We say yes. Okay, I hear you. Any other reason? So he's talked about gender, she's talked about education. Last week, what was happening at the UN? We had 3 heads of state at the jury, minus our president, who opened the forum, by the way. You heard of UNESCO? Yes? United Nations?
Environment.
Assembly.
Yeah.
2 years ago, UNEP became an assembly. Before that, it was just a small arm of the UN. By becoming an assembly, it was elevated to the status of New York and the Netherlands office, meaning 4,000 people will sit and pass an agenda that will be embraced by all the members of the UN. This was the 3rd time they were assembling in Nairobi, by the way. So when you see the international bodies and countries getting worried that we can't handle an election process, then you know how important Nairobi is to the world. Because they were praying that we finish our election madness so that they can come and have their meeting. The UN has a set calendar. So after the Nairobi one, they will have a session in New York and then they will go to Netherlands. And they must fulfill their obligations. So this time the hashtag was at beat pollution. Have you been to Mombasa lately? You've been to Mombasa? Have you been to the beach? You've been to the beach? Have you seen the plastic pollution at the beach? The plastic bottles and the nylon papers? Yeah, you know they produce toxins, eh? You're aware. And those toxins are killing our fish, they are killing the whales, and they are killing us. Because once they go into a shamba and you plant maize, the toxins are absorbed by the maize. Then we eat the maize through the ugali. So we are killing ourselves slowly by slowly. And one thing that Kenya discussed at the UN last week was the ban of plastic paper bags. I hope we all support that. Do we? Yes. So that was a very big plus for our country because it's only Rwanda that has implemented. Uganda tried, but they couldn't sustain the momentum. So far Kenya is doing well, and that was something that we were commended for. You guys need to be getting online to see what's going on, because these are some of the issues that you can solve through your mobile applications. You know, for example, I was sharing with the group yesterday. If you did an app that was talking about plastic pollution, you know, you would empower a whole generation. Because the young people are wondering, so why aren't we using paper bags anymore? You know, and if you're arrested, it's a fine of 1 million. Yeah? So those are some of the things that we need to think about. So SDGs, this is a strategic plan for the world. A strategic plan that will elevate the lives of citizens across the world. Yeah? It has goals, it has targets and indicators. Indicators meaning there's a measurement through. These assemblies I'm talking about, the UN, they meet periodically and each country is supposed to give a report. For example, the free primary education gave Kenya a very high standing because they were able to say for the last, it was implemented in Mzee Kibaki's first term, and after it was implemented, there were, I think, 3 million children who enrolled during that term. So it shows that perhaps many parents couldn't afford the education, but once it was made free, the children were able to go to school. So those are some of the indicators that Kenya could give. And now there's the high school education, which they will report in the next quarter. So the strategic plan for the SDGs to be implemented for 15 years. But like I said, they measure it every quarter. I asked that question and nobody answered me. When do you think Kenya joined the UN? Huh?
1963.
1963. Close, but yes, we had to be independent for us to join the UN. It was 1964. I'll come to that. It was 1964. So how many SDGs do we have? There's one on gender, one on education. How many? 17. Can we mention a few other than the gender and education? Yes, Amy? Zero? Zero hunger. Do you still have Kenyans who don't eat like a whole day? Why is that? I thought we were an agricultural country. Yeah? Why don't we have food for all our, what's our total population? 43? 43 billion? Or thereabout? Don't we have land and we have rain in some areas? Yeah? We'll discuss that later. Any other than zero hunger? Yes, Tony.
Reduce inequalities.
Inequalities, That's gender and?
And not gender. It's like you can find some countries, like let's say China, they export to our, we import almost like 70% from them, but we only export like 3% to their country. So at least they should give us, okay, not them, but at least they should be that reduction in inequality. They should allow us to export some few goods to their countries through some, we can have some, can I say development goals, like when the president with their president, they sign some few agreements so that we can have at least some equalities during exports.
Okay, so you're talking about economic quality,
yes,
and then you're talking about trade.
Yes, trade.
Okay, another one, Said. Improved healthcare. Do we need to be healthy? Why? Our lives depend on it. Does that raise our expectancy level, life expectancy? Does it? Oh, it does. Okay, Another one? Employment. So we all need jobs. Why do we need jobs? Other than buying the, is it called the Lexus, the big car the politicians are driving? Other than buying that, why do we need jobs?
It's because of the education we are gaining. And so we need to get the provision of jobs.
from the employment.
Yeah.
And by that, unajenga taifa. And you know, when you build yourself, you're also building others. Another one? They are 17. Come on. In fact, everybody should give me one because we are 20 in this room.
Climate action.
Climate action. Is that important?
Very.
Why?
This planet, so we need to make sure that it's in its proper state. Some of Trump doesn't believe in global warming, so that's a problem.
So is Trump the problem or
So that's not the problem, but it's in that cohort of people.
we don't believe in that? You know, I was surprised at the UNEA. They said 1 out of 4 people in the world are dying every minute due to pollution. And the other day in India, was it Bombay, where people could not drive in the morning, because there was dark smoke everywhere because of pollution. Yeah, and then other than that, we're also getting lung diseases because of the pollution. Yeah, so it's very important for us to address our climate. Another one? That side has talked. Has this side talked? Yes, over there.
And poverty.
And poverty. Is poverty an issue? Why is it an issue?
I think poverty has been about, there is a lot of loss of life in cost of it.
So they cannot afford health care,
Yeah.
right? And even if they can afford health care, they will not be able to afford education. And that is why UNESCO encourages for the free primary education, at least, and then OERs, because you don't need to pay for that. If the curriculum and the textbooks are online, anybody with the internet, including the teachers, can access. Because textbooks are an expense, aren't they? They are, yeah? Okay. All right, I can see we're doing a good job. So, we have 17 SDGs. Yeah, and the deadline is 2030. I know Kenya will be giving us a report card, I think sometime June next year, so that we know where we are and where we need to tune up our socks. So the SDGs were adopted in 2015. Yeah, and I will give you the analogy of that. And they were agreed upon by the members of the UN. Yeah? Remember, Kenya is a member of the UN. So the SDGs are succeeding the MDGs. You remember them? Millennium Development Goals. Yeah, they took over from the MDGs. And the reason why it was important to transform them into SDGs is because the MDGs had a bit of shortcomings. Yeah? Number one, they failed to consider the root cause of poverty. Yeah, and then number two, they overlook the gender inequality which Lincoln is talking passionately about. And why that is important is that women and men look at things in a different way. So it is important to have everybody on board, yeah, so that you can address the problem holistically. Am I communicating? There are some issues that we look at differently based on our gender. Yeah? And it's important to have women on board. You know, it's like the way NGOs used to sit in the boardroom and discuss the problem of a woman in Turkana. How would they know what a woman is going through in Turkana? And they're in the boardroom at the UN. You know, it's important to go and listen machinally so that you can address that problem completely. And number three, the holistic nature of development. Other than money, initially MDGs were very focused on donors coming to Kenya, and that's why we had so many NGOs in Kenya. To them, the donor funds they give you are supposed to address the problem. But you see, they will come, they will build the hospital for you, but will you have doctors to manage after the project has folded? So most of the projects died. Even in your village, you can remember, because they did not empower the people in that village. They brought in the money, they bought the ambulance, they built the hospital, but where was the capacity? So when the projects came to an end, the hospitals, closed down or something because of management. then there was something about human rights. Yesterday I talked about persons living with special needs. And when you go to a building, and a building has 8 floors, and there is no lift, usually I engage the person who is escorting me to the room. And I ask them, if you were on a wheelchair, what would happen to you? Would they carry you up? And then they tell me no. Usually we give the rooms on ground floor for people with special needs. But what if I want to be on 8th floor? You know, why are you limiting me? Because perhaps I'm on a wheelchair. You expect me to sleep on 1st floor. That's an issue of human rights. We should never, never discriminate them based on their needs. If somebody wants to sleep on 25th floor, they have the liberty to do that. You know? So they have human rights, and we also need to think about them. I said yesterday, when you are developing your mobile app, go an extra mile and ask yourself, can somebody who is visually impaired use this app? Yeah, it took Safaricom, I think, 7 years for them to improve on their M-Pesa. I said that yesterday. Now people with special needs, the visually impaired, you can actually transact there because they have a talking debits. So you sit there, you want to M-Pesa 5,010, you tap, it talks to you, it even tells you money delivered. Before that, they had to use people who are visually, able, and they could even steal their money. And then, of course, your privacy. Why does everybody need to know I'm sending 10K to Wanjohi? So whenever you develop an app, think about it. There are those who cannot hear, and there are those who cannot see. Yeah? So let's incorporate them. They are also members of our society. Then there was economic development. Economic development is not about money. It's about empowering yourself. You see these politicians, they hand out money during campaign. And the total amount of money that they give could be like 20 million.